What is good, everybody? Today we have my boy Jimmy Buckets and what makes him unstoppable in the NBA playoffs. Because if you are an NBA fan in any capacity, you will know my boy is killing them. Hopefully we get past the Knicks, man, because I really feel like we can beat them. But the bigger issue will be the Boston Celtics. Before we get into the video, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. And let's get into the video.
Playoff Jimmy is a real thing. Butler's last 40-point game in the regular season was all the way back in 2017, and that was when he was playing for the Chicago Bulls. Since then, he's had 8 40-point games. They've all come in the playoffs, and 2 of them just happened against the Milwaukee Bucks, who had the best record in the regular season, as well as one of the top defenses in the NBA. So in this video, we're going to break down Butler's play in that series to see exactly what he did on the court that led to success for both him and the Miami Heat. So Jimmy does most of his damage around the basket, and according to Synergy, over 52% of his total shots are at the rim. When Butler's finishing, he really favors jumping off 2 feet, and that allows him to stabilize himself so he can absorb contact better while he's elevating. Now typically when a player lifts off 2 feet, it normally takes a little longer for them to get off the floor, as opposed to jumping off 1 foot. But when Jimmy's playing in the paint, he's always patient. He never lets the defense speed him up, and he's just calmly getting into a variety of different shot fakes and step throughs to find windows to score. And when Butler's playing against physical defense, he's really good at rotating his outside shoulder, which allows him to both draw fouls and shield the ball into layups.
I noticed that he's always very balanced when he gets his shot off, because I think that has to do with just him jumping off 2 feet as opposed to what he was saying, jumping off 1 leg.
And that slight rotation he does while he's elevating may seem small, but it's one of the reasons he's been able to consistently score against some of the league's best rim protectors. Now Jimmy also uses the threat of his pivot game to lull the defense to sleep as he's attacking. Watch him get downhill with Lopez and help side, and notice how Butler just slightly relaxes his pace, and again stops on 2. From here, Lopez is expecting some kind of shot fake or step through, so he's hesitant to commit to contesting, but then Butler quickly hops off the floor and gets his layup over one of the league's best rim protectors.
Throws off his
Jimmy
whole
also
rhythm.
Likes to use a similar setup into his floaters by simply playing relax and quickly hopping off the floor for these push shots. And you'll notice how Butler is always the first one off the floor, which gives him the lift to finish over Milwaukee's length. Now the real secret to Jimmy's game is his pace. He's not the most flashy or dynamic player with the ball, but he's really good at stopping and starting to manipulate the defense. Notice when Butler comes off the screen, how he briefly slows down and glances at Strus in the corner, and this lifts Middleton out of his stance and causes Lopez to open up, giving Butler an angle to attack the rim. And that pace carries right over to Butler's mid-range game. Jimmy all year has been one of the most underrated in-between scorers, shooting 52% on all his jumpers from under 17 feet.
Jimmy Buckets has one of the most smoothest looking jumpers I have ever seen. Next to D Wade, of course, but Jimmy Butler, bro, it's a thing to witness, man.
When we look closer at Jimmy's game, he has all the physical tools and skills to be a big-time mid-range scorer. He's 6'7", has a traditional jump shot, and he loves playing physical to carve out angles to score. But again, I think the most important element to Butler's mid-range game is his pace. Jimmy can play at a variety of different speeds, and he uses that tempo to keep the defense off balance, then separate for pull-ups. Watch on this play how Drew Holiday's picking him up at half court, and Butler's going to lower his shoulder to aggressively attack. But once he gets to the free throw line, notice how Jimmy comes up to relax, and then he punches off his right foot for a step back.
I see.
And what makes Butler really tough to deal with in these spots is that he can separate effectively going both right and left. Watch how he's drifting towards Giannis, but now he's going to step back off his left foot, which pushes Giannis' feet back and gives him the space to rise up.
That's really smart, man.
Jimmy can also do just as much damage playing off the ball. Miami likes to use him as both a screener and a cutter, and Butler's just really good at making the simple reads and plays. Like on this play, Holiday's overplaying this pin down, so Jimmy just cuts back door for a layup. A minute later, Miami runs the same play, but Drew's now heavily playing on Butler's left side, so he curls off the screen and gets another easy bucket at the rim. I also like how the Heat use Butler as a screener or a short roll man. Like we went over, Jimmy is a really effective scorer in the paint and mid-range. And this is something I see them going to pretty often in their next series.
Honestly, looking at this dissection of Jimmy's game made me realize just how in control he is with every single step, every single shot he makes. It's just a thing of beauty, man. Also, it takes a lot of practice to slow down your pace, because half the time when someone's defending you, they might be trying to get you out of your comfort level. He's just calm, cool, collected. If you can throw them off their rhythm, then they might maybe mistime the block and you're up in the air before they can contest, and it just throws off everything, so you're able to score easily.
Game 5, this was a huge play where Jimmy comes up and sets the screen for Bam, and watch how Butler opens up towards the ball, which gives Adebayo a window to deliver this pocket pass. Now, I think the biggest factor, however, to Jimmy torching the Bucks in 5 games the way he did was his outside shooting. For the regular season, Jimmy was shooting about 35% from 3, while having a pretty low volume of about 1.5 attempts per game. In the 5 games against the Bucks, however, Jimmy shot 44% from 3, while cranking up his volume to over 5 attempts per game.
Bro,
in the
he
first
was
couple
lights
of games
out.
of the series, the Bucks were pretty much willing to let Jimmy take the standstill spot up 3.
Thank you.
This necessarily wasn't a mistake by Milwaukee, because in the regular season, Butler's never actively looking for these outside shots, but he was able to take and make them through the course of the game and hit these big ones down the stretch.
He definitely bailed us out a lot in this series, man. We were playing so inconsistently this entire season. I didn't even think we were going to win that play-in game against Chicago. I mean, before that game, we lost to, I forgot what team we lost to, but we barely won against Chicago. Based off of that game, I didn't think we were going to do this much damage to the Bucks. It did help our cause, though, when Giannis went down, but we also lost Tyler Hero and Victor. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I think we've been playing, pretty decent.
So as the series went on, Jimmy went from being a guy that you could completely leave open to then becoming a good enough shooter that the defense had to at least come out to meet him on the perimeter to get a hand up. Butler being able to pull the defense out with his shooting threat, I think played the biggest factor to him going off the way he did. Because Butler on the perimeter has some really good skills both off the catch and bounce. The defense coming out to meet him made it a lot easier for him to get downhill and play around the basket. Off the dribble, Jimmy doesn't have the most shifty or dynamic handle, but he does have a good first step, and he attacks angles really well. On this play, you'll see Butler get the switch against Portis, and watch how Jimmy goes through to explode. But notice after he goes between, how Jimmy's first step is almost sideways, pretty much dribbling right at the help side. But then you'll see how Butler's next dribble takes him downhill, veering right into Bobby. Then he gets to his favorite 2-foot finish. I also love this move against Giannis, where Jimmy goes through and skips to his left, and you'll notice how that gets Giannis to both lean and heavily expose his top foot. So Jimmy's going to cross it back over, and again, notice as he attacks, how he uses his left shoulder to shield the ball into his finish.
Wow.
Now I think one of the most underrated parts of Jimmy's game is his pivot work. Again, the moves he hits aren't super flashy,
They're
but
not.
they're extremely effective, and he uses them to cook some of the best one-on-one defenders in the league.
It's kind of like Kawhi Leonard, how he's not very flashy at all, but he'll just kill you with fundamentals. He has good pivot. I mean, he has good mid-range, but man, just can't stay healthy. Luka is sort of like that too. Luka isn't flashy. He's not very athletic, but he'll kill you with the jump shot. He'll drive in, and occasionally he might dunk on you, but majority of the time he's not going to do that.
One of Butler's favorite moves is his drop pivot, where he puts his eyes on the rim and brings his right foot back to explode. And the footwork for this move may be simple, but Jimmy was getting blow-bys with it the entire series. Watch here when he brings that foot back, how it lifts Holiday out of his stance, giving Jimmy the easy downhill drive. Then here he hits the same move, and look how off balance he gets Crowder, and Butler has another runway to attack.
Excuse me.
Another effective move he was hitting against mismatches was creeping his lead foot across his frame, then pushing the ball out to explode. Butler was able to sell this move with his pace, being casual as he brought that foot up, then quickly accelerating. I like how he mixes things up here, by again bringing that right foot up, then punching it back for the drop pivot.
So he pretty much puts him to sleep.
What I think really makes Jimmy special is his versatility. He's been able to score from all 3 levels. The Heat can use him as a screener or cutter, and he has enough skill off the catch and dribble to create when need be. We'll see if he can continue this play against the Knicks. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments who you have winning the series.
Of course, the Miami Heat. What do you mean? But yeah, that was a really good analysis. I honestly think we can beat New York, man. But the real problem is gonna be Boston. That's gonna be a whole different story, man. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But if you guys like the video, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Make sure you share and subscribe. Make sure you support the kids here in his channel. He has very good NBA content. And I'll see you guys in the next reaction video. Peace!